So in this video, I'm going to show you the best color grading tools inside of Camera Raw. Now, if you ended up in this video and you are a Lightroom user and you don't use Camera Raw, don't worry, because Camera Raw is exactly the same thing as Lightroom. This is the raw development tool that is integrated to Photoshop. But even if you go to the Adobe website, you're gonna read that the thing that makes Camera Raw, this is exactly what makes Lightroom. So that's the same tools that works the same way. And everything I show you here, you'll be able to do it inside of Lightroom. So you don't have to leave the video. You can just follow this video. And for my fellow Camera Raw user, just follow along. I'm going to show everything, every tools to color grade your photos. So here's the photo that we are going to color grade inside of Camera Raw. If you want to download this photo, there is a link in the description where you can actually get the raw photo. And so you'll be able to follow along with me in the software. Please don't use this photo for anything else than practicing, because that's my photo. So please respect that. So the thing that I did here is that I analyzed the colors that are already inside of the image. So I'm not going to talk too much about this here. I have more videos about color analysis on my YouTube channel, so you can just check it out, or you can also check out my color grading course for photographers. I'll add the link in the description. But here I know that I have mostly blue colors and some yellow, orange. What I would like to do eventually is to create a split complementary color scheme. So here we have a complementary color scheme. I'd like to maybe create a split complementary, so maybe add some red inside of my image, something like this, yeah, to create maybe more interesting colors inside of this photo here. Okay, so let's see all the tools that we can use to create this color grade. So here the only thing that I did is that I already used some settings to have a good color. So this is the before, this is the after, because the image was quite dark, but I actually liked that it was kind of dark. So let's get this back down a bit. Okay, and then I'm going to go to color and see the temperature. So I usually use the temperature to see what I like the most. I kind of want to go towards yellow a little bit to emphasize the color of the street lamp here. For the vibrance, I don't always use it, but here I like to have something like plus 9%. So this is before, this is after. Yeah, it gives a nice color to the street lamp. I find it too yellow and too saturated, but I'm going to fix that later with another tool. So now I'm still going to touch effect a bit, even though that's outside of the color grading thing, but I still want to do that. Okay, so I go down with clarity. I like to do that usually on my edits because it gives a softer, dreamier effect. Inside of curves, so that's one of the tools you can use to color grade your photos. So usually I like to use the different channels. So here you have red, green and blue, RGB, red, green, blue. Here with the blue I want to raise the lower part here, and that's going to raise the blacks, the shadows of the colors. So here you can see if I raise it, it becomes more blue. So here of course it exaggerated to show you, but I'm going to do that just a little bit, and you can see in the shadows of my image I'm having a bit more blue. Then I'm gonna go down with the highlight, still on the blue channel. The opposite color of blue is yellow. That's why if I go down with this point here, it's turning more into yellow than blue. Okay, I'm adding a bit of red also in the highlights and cyan in the shadows. And you can see this is before, this is after. I don't know if you can see very well on your screen, but if you are doing it along with me, you should be able to see the difference. Now I have the color mixer panel. That's a very interesting tool to color grade your photo. So when you open it, you can either choose the hue and then work on the hue, the saturation and the luminance, Or what you can do is to click on the sample tool here, the hue targeted adjustment tool. And here you can just click on one area, so for example this one, and you'll be able to drag the hue, to change the hue just by targeting one specific area. So here Command Z because I didn't want this adjustment, but if I click here, so I want the roof to be more red than magenta. Here it seems like it's more, yeah, blue and purple, let's say. Okay, so more something. I'm taking the purples more towards this like magenta. Okay, the blue is changed the sky too much. So here you can see I'm going to saturation, panel, and then luminance, and it really changed the vibe of the roof, like the color of the roof. So this is before, this is after. So the color mixer panel is very interesting, very powerful. You can go very far with this panel actually. So now let's work on the blues. I don't like that it's turning to purple. Okay, so here I have a problem with the purple, is that it's been tinted a bit too much of the wall, and I only wanted to target the roofs. So here one way to fix that, if that happens, is that we're just not gonna do any adjustment here. So if you double click on the triangle, it's going to go back to 0. So that's what I'm gonna do in here. Because I want to target the roof, we are going to do that same adjustment, but with a mask. So it only targets what I want and not the wall image. Okay, so then what else? For the yellow, I don't want them to be that saturated. So I'm gonna go to saturation yellow and go down. Same with orange. Luminance, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, that's nice if it's a bit more luminous. And for the hue, yeah, maybe something more towards orange than yellow. Cool. And look, this is before, this is after. I like that the light of the lamps are a bit softer and less strong. I like that. Then we have the color grading panel. So usually color grading panel, it allows you to do a split toning. So which means you add one color in the shadows and one color in the highlight. I like to do a complementary color scheme for that. So usually blue in the shadows, yellow in the highlight, but you can choose whatever you want. So what you do is that you take the dot that is in the center and you choose a hue. So the hue, this is this. Then the more you go to the outside of the circle, the more saturated it's going to get. And then this slider here, this is the luminance. So you can choose the luminance. So here, high luminance, low luminance. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to 0 for everything. I'm gonna choose, yeah, kind of a blue, oops, but very slight saturation. And for the highlights, something more orange yellow. And then you can choose something for the midtones, but midtones is usually going to affect the wall image. So I don't always use it, but you can totally use it if you like it. Here I like around the red here. I like how it looks like. And you can see this is before, this is after. Now that I'm starting to look at my image longer, I find this area here very dark. So I'm gonna add some more light in the shadows. Okay, so now what else do we have? We have this calibration tool that I personally don't use that much, but it's still an interesting tool to use for color grading, so I wanted to talk about it in this video. And you can actually add nice colors effect by moving the sliders here. So yeah, you can just move the slider and see what you like the best. Here I'm gonna use something like this. It re-emphasized the complementary color scheme that we had at the beginning, so blue and yellow, orange. This is before, this is after, in the overall before, after. And you can see that we already work a lot on the colors here. Okay, so now what else? I want to add some grain to this image. I think could look, oops, that could look nice, nice, before and after. Okay, now I'm gonna go to the mask and we are going to do some color grading, but on a very targeted area. So we're gonna start with the sky. So I'm just going to click on sky. It does a pretty good job at selecting the sky, and here I want something a bit darker. So we focus more on the lights and the night vibe of this image. And then more towards blue, so I'm just using the temperature. I want it to be towards blue, but not too saturated, so I'm going to reduce the saturation. Okay. And here I can still use the same tools, so the curve. So I have access to the curve, to point color, to hue here. So using mask is also very interesting to color grade. Okay, now I am going to create another mask. I want to create a linear gradient, and I want to work on this lower part, the foreground in my image. So I want to reduce the exposure and also the saturation, because I find this very saturated blue, which I'm not a fan of it. Yeah, I'm gonna add some, I'm gonna go towards yellow with the temperature, because look, this is before and I find it a bit too blue. And I like that by adding some yellow, it's emphasizing the light reflection. I find this very beautiful. Okay, then let's work on the red of our roof. Here what I'm gonna do, I might try to select objects. Let's see. I'm just going to select this area, and here it does a pretty good job, but I want to add some parts, so I'm going to click on add, select object, and I'm going to select, let me change the size of my brush. I'm going to select this. Okay, so here I've selected my roof and I can now work on it. I'm gonna go to point color, click on the color of the roof like this, so we can see it's kind of a purple. Ah, nice. If I go more towards magenta, it looks more like red. Some more saturation. Let's go to curve to try and make it red. So I'm going to the red channel. Yeah. Okay, now it looks more red. I don't want it to be too bright, so I'm gonna use the curve. Nice. See the difference before and after? And here I've made a drastic change, but just thanks to a mask and simple tools. I'm gonna add to this mask this roof here. So I'm gonna click on add and then select object, and I'm going to select the roof here. Okay, and it's applying the mask inside of this roof here as well. And what we could do is to actually add all the roofs. So select object, let's add this one. Yeah, let's add this one. Good. This one as well. Nice. This one. Nice. And perfect. I think maybe this part here. Okay, so let's look at it all together. This is before and this is after. And now we are starting to have a nice complementary color scheme. So I think the red is maybe a little strong. So what I'm gonna do is to reduce the amount of effect of the mask 3. So I go to amount and I'm gonna go down. Yeah. And I'm also going to reduce the exposure to make all the roofs darker. Now I'm going to create another mask, radial gradient this time. I want to create kind of a vignette, so I'm creating the radial gradient and then invert mask. So it's going to affect only what's outside of my radial gradients, making it bigger. Okay, so once again, I'm emphasizing the night effect. And then what I'm gonna do, click on the 3 dots, duplicate and invert mask. So this time we are going to work only on what's inside the radial gradient and making it a bit smaller. And I don't want it to affect the sky, so I'm gonna click on subtract, select sky, and it's removing the sky from my selection. And here I'm adding some more exposure, so we focus more on the streets. Maybe some more yellow. Cool. And overall, you can see this is before and this is after, and I've showed you a lot of different tools to color grade. I want to do one more thing, one linear gradient in the sky. Go down with exposure and maybe add some more blue. Okay, this is before and this is after, and just working with light and colors only inside of Camera Raw. I didn't open Photoshop at all. This is a pretty nice result. So I hope it showed you different techniques, different ways to work inside of Camera Raw. If you don't completely understand how color grading works and you want to go more in depth, I have a color grading course for photographers. I've made it super accessible to anyone because that's a topic I really struggled to find information about when I was myself starting photography. The link is in the description, so if you are curious about it, feel free to check it out. And I see you in the next video.